Steeler Nation, we are back for another great episode on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. Alongside me, as always, is Mic'd Up Sports One. And as you know, we have a great guest, and we're going to get to that. But we want to give a great shout out to our partners over at DraftKings. Mike, let Russ cook. Let us make you some money. Go ahead, take it from here.
Yeah, we want, anybody on DraftKings Sportsbook to cook and make yourself a little bit of moolah because the Emirates NBA Cup is here and you can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NBA. This is such a fun event. All 30 teams split into 6 groups every Tuesday and Friday, playing for the right to advance in this NBA Cup tourney. It all culminates in the NBA Cup championship in Vegas. Hey, if it's your first time ever betting with DraftKings, do us a big favor. Use our code 6sports. If you bet just $5, you get 200 in bonus bets, which is absolutely preposterous, but awesome. 6sports is the code. $5 gets you 200 in bonus bets only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
All right, today we're getting serious, JY, because we got the real deal on, that's for sure. He's an editorial researcher, fantasy analyst. You found him on NFL Network before, Roto Baller as well. And you can find him on X at Real Deal Fantasy. This is our guy, LaQuan Jones.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
LaQuan, what is up?
What's going on, guys? Hey. Feeling the vibes, feeling the energy.
Good stuff. Well, you're bringing the energy to us, so we're excited to have you on. You're in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I'm in LA. Yep, from Jersey, but I'm in LA now. Newly here, 3 years.
Little East Coast, West Coast transition. So awesome stuff, man, and we appreciate you joining us. We get to talk some Steelers, of course. This guy doesn't have much of an LA connection, but he was on the West Coast last year, and that's Russell Wilson. I guess Midwest, you would call it. Us Easterners like to call Denver even the Midwest.
Yeah, that works.
Fair enough. Thank you. He has come east and has really been revitalized. So I just want to ask you in general, I mean, how surprised are you, LaQuan, with his play?
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it was a bad marriage there with him and Sean Payton. And if you look at the numbers last year, they weren't terrible. It's not like he was out there playing like he was Zach Wilson or something. Like he was going out there being the best product he could be out there with the coach that kind of was on his neck, kind of on his back, and kind of came in and said, look, get that office out of here. You're not the guy anymore. You're just a guy. So I think when you have that toxic environment, especially with the captain of the offense, it's your quarterback, like things are going to go south. So honestly, the way he's playing right now for the Steelers, I'm truly not surprised at all because I knew he still had a serviceable quarterback inside of him somewhere. He may not be as mobile as he was with the Seahawks, but as you see, he's still making the right decisions. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like he's not going out there turning the ball over, fumbling, et cetera, et cetera. And I know, some Steelers fans and you guys were probably happy with Justin Fields the first couple of weeks, but the dude was fumbling the ball. That's giving the defenses opportunities. That's not really good, with a Mike Tomlin offense.
We're still happy with Justin Fields and are optimistic about his future, especially now that we're seeing what's going on in Chicago. Maybe it wasn't a Justin Fields problem. Probably more Bears problem, unless Caleb Williams is not very good either. But there was this idea for a while, and Russell Wilson has helped unlock this guy, that with Arthur Smith coming over to the Steelers, that, maybe George Pickens and some of these receivers would struggle a bit more, both in real life and in fantasy. Naturally, the run-heavy offense that he is generally always featured with Derrick Henry and Robinson. Talk to me about George Pickens. What have you seen from him? Is he entering that elite status of receivers and fantasy receivers as well?
Yeah, I've always had him as a tier 3 wide receiver, but I think the stamp is solid that he's a tier 2 right now, staring up at the bottom of the tier 1, just based on his ability, man. I mean, the dude catch radius is ridiculous. You throw the ball anywhere, you throw it in the stance, he's probably going to one-handed backflip catch it. Like, this is the type of player you have, and that's the type of wide receivers that the Steelers produce. They produce these dynamic alpha wide receivers, and when you get a quarterback like Russell Wilson who could chuck it up and get it to him, I mean, this is what's going to take his game to the next level, man. Like, I'm really impressed with the shiesty energy, the Black Air Force energy. I really think he just goes out there and just balls out with NBA Youngboy just playing in his head over and over all day long.
Let's talk about another wide receiver who was recently acquired, Mike Williams. Talk about that trade, and do you think in fantasy he's worth rostering?
He's more of a wait and see approach, man, because Mike Williams has a very nasty injury history, and then we didn't see much of him with the Jets. But honestly, I think the Jets situation was more so of like a toxic environment for him. We saw him get his first target, first catch for a touchdown, and that was a bomb from Russell Wilson. So I think, honestly, those are the plays that we want to see out of Mike Williams on a more consistent basis. But right now, I just can't trust him in fantasy to pick him up and say put him in starting lineups right now. I know the talent is there, but that boy is dangerous, man. He looks like it hurts every time he goes out and try to catch the ball. Like, that's just my biggest concern as we're approaching the fantasy playoffs. Like, I need guys that are going to be reliable, that are going to be on the field and be able to show up and show out when their name is called coming off the bench.
Yeah. Let's talk about another wide receiver, former Steeler, Deontay Johnson. Obviously haven't got involved much in that Ravens offense. If there was one week that it was going to happen, it possibly could be this week. Where do you think, what type of game you think we'll see from him? Do you think that he'll see more targets as well?
Hopefully he can get on the field. I mean, it was really weird where, the first week he got there, they deployed him, but then the very next week his snaps kind of just cut in half. Like, that was really nasty to see. And then to see the cryptic tweet that he had, which is now deleted, it was just more so like, that's weird. Like,
I don't miss that. I don't miss that from Deontay Johnson. I will say that.
Yeah,
he is very talented, but I think he's his own worst enemy.
Yeah, he has some diva in him, man, but he's very, very talented, and I think he can honestly elevate this Ravens offense going forward. I don't want to show them love on the Steelers podcast, but I'm just saying, I really think he can really take it there and develop that offense to be even higher. Like, when it comes to yards per reception, it's going to be there for him, elevating this yards per play on this Ravens offense. And Lamar's playing his best football right now. And Deontay Johnson, if he's able to get activated and get focused, I think for fantasy, man, we're looking at a top 15 wide receiver rest of the season.
Wow. That's high praise.
Yes.
Yeah. Before I throw it over to Mike again, the Ravens have struggled recently against the Steelers. Do you think Derrick Henry can play a factor in changing that for the Ravens on Sunday?
One thing about the Steelers, man, you guys had their number for a very long time, 7-1 since 2020. That's pretty huge, man. You guys have been, keeping them down. I mean, all those games were 7 points or fewer. So it's one of those things where it's always going to be scrappy with them. But Derrick Henry, he's a Raven now. The run defense for the Steelers, they have been pretty good, man. Top 5 against the run this season. So therefore, this is their biggest threat. This is their biggest matchup. And I really feel as though it's going to come down to, can they stop Derrick Henry? For fantasy, of course, you're starting him. It's Derrick Henry. You ain't benching him. But when it comes to reality football, real life football, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, I don't know if TJ Watt's going to be enough to stop King Henry.
For fantasy, are you benching the Steelers defense?
Absolutely not. For DST, man, Steelers have always been reliable when it comes to takeaways, when it comes to just getting pressure, making the quarterback uncomfortable. And this is where the points are going to be generated, those standard 10 points that you start with for fantasy DST. So it's like, man, if they're going to be getting pressured, they're going to allow that secondary to kind of sit back and play, waiting for the mistakes to happen and get those interceptions. So it's more so of like, hey, your special teams, Calvin Austin, he's a threat as well. You still get points on special teams for fantasy. That's what the ST stands for in DST. So it's like you have threats on both sides of those coins there with the special teams and the defense, obviously with TJ Watt going completely bonkers that back there.
Yeah, no doubt. And for what it's worth, you are definitely allowed to be neutral and unbiased on this podcast. We actually appreciate that. Jordan and I more so, which he always mentions we like to have some more national folks on here because anytime we bring in Pittsburgh reporters on, it can be swayed in direction. So with that said, I'm definitely going to put you on the spot before I talk a little fantasy with you.
Oh boy.
You throw out a prediction for us? You got something you can throw out there?
Like a bold prediction score-wise this week?
Score, Ravens, Steelers. What do you got? Maybe you haven't come to a conclusion yet, but what's the early read?
I'm going to go. Here's the prediction. Steelers will be down going into the half. I don't know point-wise, but the adjustments that the Steelers have been able to make on defense have been phenomenal. It's like one of the best that they've been able to go in there, get out of the locker room and get their head straight and close the game out. So it's still going to be a very close game because like I said, 7-1 since 2020, all those matchups, 7 points or fewer, how they were decided. So it's going to be one of those 27-24 games. I think it's going to go Steelers' way.
Hey, I threw you an alley-oop to pick the Ravens and you still went Steelers. So I like that. I know our viewers will too. I don't instill some confidence in them given of course, your knowledge of the game. All right, let's talk fantasy. I know, obviously, I'm a huge fantasy nerd. Obviously, you do a ton in the fantasy community.
Yeah.
Trade deadline's coming up here. Off the dome here. Maybe who are some guys that are buys right now? Maybe guys who are coming off injury, or just somebody that you've looked into that you're like, hey, I want to trade for this guy. I think he's going to have a big final stretch of the season.
A couple guys. So like there's CJ Stroud where you're looking at what's going on with that O-line in Houston, but Nico Collins is on the way back. This is going to turn into the offense that we known and loved last season with Tank Dell, Nico on the perimeter. I really feel as though this O-line, they're going to be tested this week, but he is a guy that you have a buy low window right now. If Micah Parsons goes back there and causes hell against CJ Stroud and he's sacked like 5-6 times, that'll be the window that you can go out there and try to buy CJ Stroud for the remainder of the season. Because at the end of the day, we're never questioning CJ Stroud talent. It's more so what's going on around him with the injuries and the O-line and constant. But another guy I think right now where the window is starting to close on Calvin Ridley. I mean, Will Levis, he took some time off with the shoulder injury, which I think was already trending towards being benched. But this was his first game against the Chargers, which is a tough defense where he had no turnovers. And like, that's huge. And he was able to connect with Calvin Ridley on 2 touchdowns. So it's one of those things where like, all right, something's starting to build. So therefore you have Calvin Ridley as the main focus of that Titans offense, where the target share obviously is going to be high. The production is going to be there when you have Will Levis playing at his top level, not making bonehead decisions, throwing the ball behind his back or something like that. But more so, I think right now, the biggest targets that you can get on a buy low is CJ Stroud and Calvin Ridley.
I like that for sure. We are hanging out with LaQuan Jones here on the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Once more, use our code 6SPORTS. Bet just $5. You get 200 in bonus bets. All right, how about the reverse of that? Maybe some guys who have really overachieved that you would maybe look to unload for value because they're a sell high.
First one that comes to mind, man, is Kareem Hunt. I mean, it sounds obvious, but a lot of people are really riding this train that this could be Kareem Hunt's backfield, being that Isaiah Pacheco's practice windows open up and he's returning back from injury. But I really feel as though Isaiah Pacheco, man, big jersey. I got to represent my Jersey guys as well, support them. But I really feel as though the talent is there. And Matt Nagy's been able to open up the pass game to him because Matt Nagy's has always had a feel for the running backs in the pass game. Like he's always tended to get them involved. And this is great in PPR formats if they're going to split the roles between Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. Because honestly, I think Pacheco's a little bit more not a little bit, he's way more explosive than a Kareem Hunt. So right now, if you have a window to sell, because your selling point here is, hey, he's had all the volume. He's looked great. He's been holding it down while Isaiah Pacheco's out. You go out there, you sell him, and then you get some type of return that's actually, reasonable for his price tag.
Yeah, but hey, before we get you out of here, tell everyone where they can find you. I know you're working, and I just want to give a round of applause because we were talking off air. You just recently joined the Sick team, so welcome to the Sick team.
Let's go.
And what a small world. Like we were talking and absolutely had no idea. And then when we booked you to come onto the show, Sam was like, wow, he was cracking up. So Really great stuff. Really happy to have you here on the Sick Team. You'll be covering the Rams, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, man. The Rams Sick podcast, man, called the Rams Recap, man. You guys can find me on YouTube on the Sick Podcast Network. There it is. Let's go. Yeah, man. I'm excited, man. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Get that twice a week, recapping the game, looking ahead, doing some deep dive in the trenches, even doing some player highlights. Might have some Rams players, former Rams players, Rams fans on the pod, whatever the case may be. But you guys can find me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. I'm even on Blue Sky. You guys on Blue Sky yet? Man, that seems to be the trending thing. Not familiar? Look, man, Blue Sky's out there. It's in the fantasy streets going up right now.
Yep, I'm going.
Check that out.
Yep, X, hopefully.
Well, we really appreciate your time, and we'll definitely have to do it again. I know when the Steelers and Rams play next, we'll have to have you on as well.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm going to keep it brutally honest, that pod, man. Definitely.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, hey, keep up the great work. Very fortunate to have you part of the Sick Team, as well as everything that you contribute to fantasy world and just the NFL world in general. So thanks again.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you.
Hey, man, it is for the showdown. Best rivalry in football for my money. Steelers Ravens.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
What are you thinking? What are your early thoughts, predictions?
I am gonna say I think it's gonna be a shootout. So I'm gonna say Steelers. Wow, I can't believe that I'm predicting the Steelers to score 31 points. I never thought that day would happen again, but I'm going to say Steelers 31, Ravens. Man, I don't know. There's just something about this game that I really think the Steelers are going to blow. Maybe not blow them out, but I'm going to say 31-20 Steelers. I don't know, man. There's just something. It's back home, and just, again, like you said, I just feel like we always play them, and I don't think it's going to be any different. I just think that there's a lot of energy and everything's starting to click at the right time. I really think that this is going to be a big game from the Steelers defense, because we need a big game from the Steelers defense in order to secure this victory. So I'm going to say Steelers 31, Ravens 20.
I like that pick. And listen, the Steelers have scored over 30 in 3 straight games now, so I don't think it's that crazy. Earlier in the week, I was leaning Ravens because I really do think they're a juggernaut. Yes, the Steelers have played really well against them recently, but they also didn't have the best running back in the NFL when they played well against them, and Derrick Henry. What a incredible pickup for them. Sorry, Sammy in yellow, our resident Titans fans. He's going to play a big role, but I do think there's something a little different about this Steelers team, the team chemistry. I absolutely loved when the offsides was drawn on the Commanders to win the game, and the entire team jumped up, we're hugging each other, hugging Mike Tomlin. It truly was a special moment, and they have a special bond forming around Russell Wilson. So I'm now leaning Steelers. So I'm gonna go with Steelers 24, Ravens 24, a tie.
Come on.
What? It's happened? The Steelers have tied?
It's not going to happen, man. How often does that happen? Yeah, the last time I can remember is when the Steelers tied the Falcons or they tied the Browns. I can't remember when that was.
They almost tied the Lions a couple years ago.
I know. I remember. Remember, we were at North Shore Tavern and we almost bought tickets to that game, and we went and got steak on a stone. Remember?
That was high. We sat there and we watched it. 16-16 was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Go. It was Mason Rudolph, and I think Big Ben got hurt.
That steak was better than paying for that ticket. Let's just say that.
All right, I'll be serious. I will. So my prediction will be then it goes to overtime, and because I'm leaning Steelers a little bit now, I'll go game-winning field goal by Boswell, 27-24 in overtime. But if there's a tie, I want that clip fired up, and I want it everywhere. And
how about I'll get you a steak on a stone if it ends in a tie? I'll shake that. This is a virtual shake.
The back half of this cut
steak
off.
On a stone on me if it ties. All right.
I'm not going to root for a tie, but guess what? If there is one, the Steelers would still be in first place.
Yeah, there you have it. And yeah, I mean, I just honestly think that we're trending in the right direction. And you see, again, I said this last week. I know you weren't here for the last episode. I don't really put too much in the strength of schedule, but I do in a sense of that, like, this is where you kind of see who's going to be. I mean, AFC North ball is one thing. You could throw the records out, but you got to get through the Chiefs. You got to play teams like the Eagles. So we're really going to see where the Steelers are at as a whole, as a football team. This is the second half of the season. This is when they say champions are made. So let's see. Come on, let Russ cook, baby. I need a let Russ cook shirt because, man, I've been riding for a while now, and I'm still going. So like LaQuan said, you just got to ride it until the wheels fall off. And right now the wheels are turning. So
sure.
All right. Well, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us as always. We'll be back. We have the players only, and just cranking out great content for you guys and covering the Pittsburgh Steelers as hopefully we're the AFC North champs and make a run for the Super Bowl. Hey, it is the Steelers Crazy podcast, but that's what's crazy about it is it's not too far-fetched anymore. Even the national media as well is starting to come around, and a lot of people are eating their words about Russ. So I'm loving it right now in Steeler land. So thank you guys.
Not too far-fetched. Neither is a tie.
Okay. I am Jay York Football. As always, Mic'd Up Sports One. Another great episode on the Sick Podcast Steeler Crazy, the City of Champions. See you guys soon. Go Steelers.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.